call this meeting to order at 6:02. And are we switching?
No, I think.
Okay. Okay, then first step will be Mr. Graham with the budget and tax rate proposal.
Okay. Presentation.
Here, I can, I'll show it to you.
I'm put it up. Okay. Good evening, board. Tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about proposed tax rate that we will actually officially adopt on the 27th of this month. The reason we were going to get together tonight to talk about is because last week I had my certified values from Williamson County sent to us. Everything that I'd worked with up to this point were certified estimates. And so we had our certified values. They came in a little bit lower than what the estimates were. And so I want to go over tonight, talk about the changes in that and what it has done for our tax rate. Okay.
Step forward just a little bit.
I
You're
can.
not on the screen.
Well, that was planned.
Yeah, this is.
There you
go.
Okay. Are you sure? I could go all the way in that corner.
You're good.
Okay. So you can go to the next slide, Doug.
Sorry, I'm letting people in.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, back in April, the appraisal district sent their certified estimates, and they showed a net taxable before freeze of $4.1 billion. The certified values came in last week, and as you can see, it was just a little bit over $4 billion. And then freeze adjusted taxable levy is $3.8 billion, where the estimates came in at 3.7. So what it shows here is the differences in what our collections are going to be, and it also shows the differences in what our tax compression is. As you know, House Bill 3 passed last year, and so one of the provisions of House Bill 3 was property tax relief. And so therefore, districts are restricted in what M&O tax rate they can adopt. And so the values that were certified were sent to the state. I had to submit them to TEA, and then they did the calculations and sent back me the tax rate that we are allowed to adopt. So the M&O tax rate compressed from $1.06, a little over $1.06 last year, and the compressed rate will be $1.006. So again, a little bit more than a 6-cent reduction on the M&O. Our tax collections, M&O tax collections, are relatively pretty close to the same. I'll show those in a little bit, because the values, again, the reason we didn't compress so much is because the values weren't quite as high. So therefore, we can adopt a little higher tax rate. So it will generate about the same revenues on the M&O side. However, House Bill 3 does not affect the debt service side. And so when I presented and adopted our debt service budget in June, that budget was based on 46-cent tax rate. And so I estimated collections at a 98% collection rate, and at a 46-cent tax rate, it was going to generate $18,617,000. With the 46 tax rate and the lower value now, I estimate that we will collect $18,186,000. So not quite $500,000 in reduction in taxes. Now again, this is a 98% collection rate. We usually average, when you factor in delinquents, that we usually do collect 100%. I'm not sure what the COVID environment will do to our tax collection percentage. I don't anticipate a big drop, but it could possibly happen. All right, you can go to the next slide. Again, it didn't affect M&O too much. On April 30th, I estimated our revenues, tax collection revenues, to be $76.2 million. With the new tax rate and the compression, new tax rate and the new values, I anticipate 76,144. So a reduction of about 120,000. In a $76 million estimated revenues, that 120 could happen daily. So it's really not, again, didn't affect our M&O revenues that much. So I don't see a big, anything that we're going to have to do as far as budget amendments, as far as that's concerned. But we'll monitor those tax collections as the year goes on. As I mentioned, it does affect debt service a little bit more at a 46-cent tax rate. I anticipate 431,792 lower tax collections. Now, again, these are just current tax collections. I anticipate that we will, again, collect 100%. And if that's so, then we'll probably collect about right at 200,000 more at 100%. Our debt service fund expenditures, our debt service obligation, last year was 16.6 million. We issued new debt this year, so our debt obligation rose to 18.9 million. So we had an increase in debt service obligation of 2.2 million. Again, that's what I presented to you back in June when we adopted the budget. So our estimated revenues and expenditures, again, at 46 cents and with a 98% collection rate, I anticipate our debt service obligation to be 18.9 million and our estimated revenues of 18.1. So it'll be a deficit of around $727,000. Now, we've always anticipated some deficits. We've structured our debt that way because we also knew we had some debt service fund balance. Now, this debt service fund balance, again, I've reiterated it before, it's a little misleading. That is the actual financial debt service fund balance. But again, that doesn't take into account that we had an August payment that we just made. And so, again, it's around $8 million because we had a $10 million August debt service payment. And I say that because we won't collect any, we didn't collect any taxes between then and now. And we'll start collecting taxes in October for next year. And therefore it'll raise that up. But we need that type of fund balance in order to make our debt service payments in August. Okay. So I wanted to show what a penny would do to the taxpayer in Hutto ISD. With the Williamson County Appraisal District shows that the average value of a Hutto ISD homeowner is $246,941. That's the average home valuation in Hutto ISD. Now you back out the homestead exemption for school districts, $25,000. So the taxable value is $221,941. So then you go to the next line, and so if you look at tax due, that's M&O and debt service. We know our M&O is 1.0065. And if you look there, that'll show what the difference is between 43-cent debt service and a 46-cent debt service. So the difference cost per month between 43 cents and 46 cents is about $5.50. Are any questions on this right here? Okay. As you know, we're proposing, or we're going to recommend in a couple of weeks that we adopt a 46-cent tax rate on the debt service side. Now that is a 3-cent increase on debt service, so that's going to offset the M&O 6-cent compression. So taxpayers in the district will realize a 3-cent reduction in the tax rate, but it is going to be a 3-cent increase on the debt service side. And the bottom line is to ask why we recommend that is because we've got about $150 million of authorized debt that we have not sold. And what it will do by raising that debt service It will raise our debt capacity, our bond capacity. It will allow us to go out and sell debt. I read an article today that lumber prices are skyrocketing because building trades cannot keep up with the demand of building homes. If you go out on a real estate website right now, you'll see a lot of homes that are pending. There are a lot of homes being bought and built right now. And there are a lot of homes that are being refinanced right now because of our interest rate environment. There are a lot of people out there right now taking advantage of the interest rates that are at 50-year lows. And so that's what we want to do as a school district. That's what I would want. That's what I want to do as an individual, is I want to refinance my home. I'm looking for a home to buy right now because I want to take advantage of these mortgage interest rates. So again, that's the main reason why we're going to recommend in 2 weeks that we increase our debt service so we can go ahead and sell the bonds that we are going to sell anyway. We're going to sell these anyway because we have buildings to build, we have growth, we have things coming in our future. So I would much rather sell them today at the interest rate that is available to us today than wait a year from now. Because if we do not go to at least 46 cents, we won't have the capacity to really sell anything in the next year. We'll have to wait for our values to come out again a year from now. And if you look at this, a 1% increase in interest cost will cost us, if we go and issue 35 million this year, and if we wait and issue that 35 million next year, it will cost taxpayers $4.2 million by the time we pay off that bond, if interest rates go up 1%. So there's a lot of different advantages. Again, we can utilize, if we go to 46 cents, we won't have to use as much fund balance in our debt service to pay off our current debt obligation. As you've seen earlier, if we, even at 46 cents, we're not quite going to meet our current year debt obligation. So we want to use some of that fund balance to meet that obligation. If we go to 46 cents, we won't have as much of a deficit. We can escrow some of that fund balance. And when a lot of these bonds come callable, we can pay them early. So again, it's just it's an instance where we save millions of dollars in interest costs over the life of these bonds by going up a few pennies in the debt service. And this slide here basically shows our historical tax rates. And as you can see, for the last 4 years, since 18, 19, 20, and the tax, the year time we had, the one we were pros, we've had a reduction in the total tax rate. So that's basically my presentation for tonight. So I just want to open it up for some discussion. Yes, ma'am.
So at a 98% collection rate on taxes,
Yes, ma'am.
I think I understood you to say like 1% equals approximately $100,000 in collection.
Yeah, so let me get the exact figure for you.
So if your budget is based on 98%,
Yes, ma'am.
if we see a 1 or 2% increase, that's between 100,000 and 200,000 more, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then please explain to me, because I'm having trouble reconciling a couple of things.
Okay.
If the tax goes from $1.06 and something down to just over $1,
Yes, ma'am.
and we increase from 43 to 46, that 3 cent difference is about $5.50 a month on the additional tax. But since it went down 6, is it a wash? Like it won't change at all, basically?
No, theoretically, if your home value remained the same. Now, obviously, that probably didn't happen to a lot of people. But if your home value remained the same, even if we go from 43 cents to 46 cents, your overall tax rate is still going to be 3 cents less, okay? So that means that your property taxes will go down.
Right.
As long as your values remain the same. So again, department, let me see, our tax rate last year, Todd, go back, was 140, what's that, 149.83, $1.49.83. If we adopt a 46 cents debt service tax rate in 2 weeks, the total tax rate will again go down $1.4665.
So yes, so you're right, the taxes still go down. He was just, that cost was, he was just showing what that cost would be on the debt service.
On the INS.
Right,
On the
I
INS.
was just trying to think, like, when people ask,
Yeah.
instead of saying it's going up $5.50 a month, theoretically, it's coming down $5.50.
Yeah.
Right.
The 3 cents.
Yeah, and again, I didn't do I knew what my M&O rate was going to be. And so basically our discussion is, what are we going to have our debt service rate going to be?
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's the difference I showed at between if we adopted the current rate of 43 cents or the 46 cents.
Just want to make sure I'm saying that right if people ask.
Yeah, oh, and for the public that's listening, they need to know that that is going to be a decrease.
Right, the overall tax rate will go down 3 cents, a little over 3 cents.
The non-certified values, what was our projection to be the conversion to
When I first got the estimates,
the estimate?
and I entered into the TEA formula, we were looking at 98 cents instead of $1. A little over 98 cents, 9.986, I believe.
So we probably need to ask the public if they have any questions.
Does anyone have any questions that is listening online? This is your chance. Terrence?
I'm good.
Anybody else listening online, since this is a public meeting, it's a public hearing, it is one of those unusual times where we are allowed to interact with the public.
But I did have a lady that sent an email in and she just said, very sweet lady named Patty Noel. She said, I can't attend, but can you relay the following info for me? And she was pointing out that there were conflicting dates and times per the Williamson Property Taxes Truth and Taxation website, which had it scheduled for August 28th at 6 a.m. this meeting. And then she said, please relay that I, as a taxpayer, request that the taxes remain at last year's taxes. So.
And I'm not sure if most people understand the tax compression. And so when she's saying key tax is the same, we're actually going down. We're going down 3 cents.
Can I just say, and I applaud this strategy. I think it makes a lot of sense. But I do also believe that the importance of messaging this out is really critical. And not because we're trying to inoculate ourselves from criticism, but it's just because we owe the public a very clear explanation, I believe, of the rate environment, the circumstances that caused us to make this decision, and I think an acknowledgement. And we've talked about this before, that kind of the dichotomy, right? We did tell them before that we were not going to increase a rate. We are increasing a rate on one piece. It's lowering, due to compression, it's lowering their overall tax burden. But I think they need to understand that. I think we need to go above and beyond and explain that, because I think if we do successfully, they will understand that we're being very, very prudent with their tax dollars. And we're making a very sound decision for their tax dollars and our investment for the future. And the analogy that you drew to the private home market is really important, because if they were running this district, or if they were purchasing a home, they would do exactly what we're doing right now. If they were looking at it from a consumer perspective. So I think we owe it to them for several reasons. The most important of which is, At one point, we told them we would do something different, and they need to understand the circumstances of why that strategy has changed.
Yes,
So,
sir.
And I just really believe that. And that, I think that email demonstrated that
Right.
concern
Right.
of the public education on this is really critical.
Right. Well, I know when the taxpayers graciously passed that bond, the interest rate environment was totally different. And we were at about almost 4% interest. And at that time, again, we sure didn't anticipate the environment we're in now. There's a lot of bad things that are happening because of what's going on in the world right now. But one of the things that, you got to look at a few rays of sunshine. And one of them is the fact that we can issue debt at so much cheaper in the long run than we could at that time. And again, you look at the refinancing that's going on, the building that's going on, the new homes that are being bought, most of that is driven by the interest rate environment that we find ourselves in right now. I did have Josh run a lot of scenarios, our Bank of Oklahoma, our financial analyst. And again, the number I have there is what he had estimated. Again, I think there's very few scenarios that a year from now that we would look back and say, man, we shouldn't have done that. I think we'll easily look back and go, that's one of the best financial moves we've made because we sold our bonds a year ago, and over the life of this bond, we're going to save $4.2 million or more in interest rate, in interest costs. And so I don't really envision a scenario where a year from now we look back and go, man, we sure made a mistake.
I agree.
Jeremiah Cheney has a question.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Thank you. And I'm not sure who the board member was that was speaking before you were, but I wanted to second his sentiment on making the importance of relaying this information in a way that that we would understand as taxpayers, because I think this is like a 30,000-foot view, and I think sometimes we see the school system as a business and we go, well, great, this benefits you. And so being able to see, and as a teacher, I think of differentiation and being able to see a picture of how does that impact my property taxes, not just the ability to pay back debt faster. And even then, how does paying back the debt faster impact us? So it's less of a question and more of just an agreement with that sentiment of making sure that it's very clear to the public at large in terms of how this impacts our bottom line, especially in this current time.
Yes, sir. And that's a good point. And that's what I was taught, if you want to go back a few slides. And when you say, well, how does this affect me? How does this, so I go right here where it talks about property tax broken down. There you go. And so one of the things that if the property values remain the same, a taxpayer in Hutto will be paying roughly $22 less. We'll be paying roughly $66 less a year this year if your property values remain the same. Your tax rate is going to go down 3 cents, and that's roughly $66 a year for an average home in Hutto ISD. Now, again, that's easy to say if your property values remain the same, but I suspect that most everybody's property values went up. So your total tax bill, depending on the value of your home or property, I'm not saying it's going to go down. I'm just saying your rate is going to go down. Your rate is going to go down as compared to the value of your home. So I can't say your tax bill will be lower. Well, for one thing, we're not the only taxing entity that you probably pay taxes on. But as far as the school district is concerned, your tax rate's going down. And if your value didn't increase, that means your tax bill will go down $66 on a $250,000 value home.
So Mr. Cheney, was that clear for you?
Yeah, that was clear. And thank you. And again, as long as we can make sure that that's clear, I'm guessing that's your intention anyways, is to make it as clear as possible to everybody else, because you know, when you look at just the regular numbers and you see what is my tax rate, it looks like it goes up when in reality it's going down relative to the home value.
Yes, sir. And another thing, again, that's the short-term view. How's that going to help? How's that affect my taxes this year? Well, also, we're looking at what it's going to do for any homeowner or anyone who owns property for the next 35 years. And if we can sell debt at a lower interest rate, that means we can do whatever we can to make sure that that debt service tax rate stays lower over the life of the bond. So again, we will need to generate $4 million less if we can sell these bonds now, as opposed to possibly a year from now. And so the only way I can generate that additional $4 million over the life of the bond is increase the debt service tax rate if values remain. We're pretty fortunate in that the values have continued to climb as far as keeping the debt service tax rate down. Again, I guess if you're not selling your home, it's not really that great that the values are constantly going up. But I'm not sure. I know I've owned property before, and even though I really didn't like that I had an extra tax bill, I did appreciate the fact that my investment was growing, that my equity in my home was growing. And so sure, there's a little price to pay, but I know if I ever turn around and sold my investment, my home, that I was pretty happy that those values were going up. I don't know of any school district that would prefer their values not to go down, to go down. And so we are hopeful that maybe we can attract some more industry into, and so therefore it would add to the value of the overall property of the district and create less of a burden on the individual homeowners. We're mostly homeowners. We're mostly a veteran community. And so when you're spreading that out over all the taxpayers and their homes, it's a little bit heavier burden than if you had some industry come in, add a lot of value and not a lot of kids, where we wouldn't have to continue to build schools and take some of that burden off the taxpayer or a homeowner. Again, I would not, and I know Dr. Thomas wouldn't let me come to you if we didn't think that this was the most financially prudent thing to do for all taxpayers in this district. That's something that we take pretty serious.
It's always tough when you're dealing with people's money, right?
It is. It's never an easy decision to make. Although I would have to say, with the fact that people are almost giving away their money to us, almost, not quite. It makes it a little bit easier.
Are there any other questions from the Zoom audience? Or you guys?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go into the next item, and that is, I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Brandon Bozon. He is the CFO for Temple College, and he's here tonight to present his presentation on his budget and proposed tax rate. Again, we will have an official public meeting on the 27th. Basically, same thing we're doing tonight. And then on the 27th, when we go into the regular meeting, is when the board will vote to adopt not only Hutto ISD's tax rate, but the proposed rate for the U-check. Tonight, you will take action in the regular board meeting to set the date and time for that meeting. So that is the one action item you will do tonight. So I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Bozon. And do you have his presentation?
Well, thank you very much. Is it okay if I remove my mask?
As long as
All
you
right.
keep it.
Okay. Bring my,
Hang on, I'm going to grab this from you. Not looking at you. Okay.
all righty. Chair and board, thank you very much for allowing me to come down and visit with you tonight. Certainly a treat, and thankfully I will be here at the adoption meeting. One of the positives to come out of Senate Bill 2, which was the big piece of legislation that moved through for other taxing entities. House Bill 3 was the ISD one, was that they relieved a little bit of the meeting schedule for tax rate adoption, and so I will not have conflicting meetings in Temple and Hutto this year, and will be present on the 27th for final action. But I want to start my presentation off with some enrollment statistics. I know that is generally of interest to the board, and so if you can follow along here on this next slide, we've got a bar chart kind of showing trends. And I apologize, it's quite small, but this first block is headcount enrollment during the fall terms from fall 2014 through fall 2020. Those numbers are actually pulled at the end of July. So we were actually up for the fall 2020 term at the end of July relative to last year. And this 2 weeks before semester starts is generally a very busy time for our enrollment team. So we anticipate that bar to even be a little bit taller. Your next group is spring and then summer, again showing positive trends. Your pie chart there on the right kind of shows the breakdown of in-district, which is in the shaded black, and the out-of-district, which is shaded gold there. Again, just quickly to mention, this is just the Temple College enrollment. So obviously we have partners there at TSTC and with A&M Central Texas. The next slide is basically the same data, just showing it by semester credit hours. Again, the same trends and actually the same breakdown for service or credit hour delivery for in-district and out-of-district. Notably, that's a little bit flipped from Temple College as a whole. Generally, we're about 60 to 65% out-of-district. And so the Hutto Center serves many more in-district students relative to other centers and campuses in Temple College. This next slide breaks down our enrollment by dual credit and traditional students. And so that's shaded there in black is our traditional student enrollment, and then in gold is dual credit. And so you can see about 26% of our head count, and then the next slide shows the credit hour delivery. About 25% of our credit hours are actually delivered to dual credit students here in the East Williamson County area, and Hutto ISD is making up a significant portion of that. So that's the enrollment update, and I'm happy to take any questions on that, or if there's any additional data I can provide, I'd be happy to bring it back on the 27th.
I just have one quick question. On the last slide, the last, I guess, 5 bars that are a little bit lower, can you show me what SU, what does that indicate?
Sure, that's our summer term here.
Okay.
And so a lot of that is traditional. We've changed the way that we track dual credit students in our system. And so we actually generally did not count them as dual credit in the summer unless they were getting credit from both the high school and Temple College. And many of the area high schools were not allowing students to take summer courses for high school credit. They were in college. So we've changed that now, and so you'll start seeing, as we move into future years, a little bit more gold on those bars. We're also stepping up with our summer offerings to attract more, and so you'll see that the students there will be dual credit students, and they'll be receiving the discount as part of that. All right, so
excuse me, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
What is the boundaries for Temple College for in-district and out-of-district?
So here at so for in-district, it's either they live within Hutto ISD or they live within the city of Temple or Temple ISD. They have slightly different boundaries, but either of those are considered in-district for the purposes of tuition.
And Taylor's not a part of that? Doesn't y'all have a campus in Taylor?
Taylor does not receive in-district tuition. We do have a center there in Taylor. It used to be the old HEB, but they are still out of district for these purposes. Yeah.
And what is the rate per hour for in-district and out-of-district?
Okay, so our in-district is $114 per hour, and our out-of-district is $188 per hour. If they are a dual credit student, they receive a $43 an hour waiver if they're in district, so it's $71 an hour, or a $73 waiver, which makes it down to $115 an hour for out of district students.
Okay.
If they're dual credit.
And my last question, what is the capacity? Are y'all at 60% capacity, you know, as far as growth? I mean, you know, you gave us the numbers for growth, but just as far as capacity in the building that you guys are in now, are you reaching the max or?
We are not reaching the max. I know that it does get tighter and tighter every year, and Edgar and Dr. Ray certainly work through those issues, but I'll come back with a better answer to that question on the 27th as far as what our actual utilization of all the classrooms and where our capacity, how much more headcount and credit hours we can serve within that facility.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I can tell y'all it's getting pretty tight. It's pretty tight, so we're working effectively for space utilization and getting creative with scheduling, but yeah, Dr. Ray and myself coordinate on that. It's a good problem to have, but it's getting tighter and tighter.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Thank you. So maybe there is not as much capacity as I've let on, but I'll get again better numbers for our meeting on the 27th. All right. Well, thank you. If there's no other enrollment questions, I'll kind of move on to the branch maintenance tax and why I'm here and how it kind of works. So in 2010, the voters of Hutto ISD approved the branch maintenance tax of up to 5 cents to pay for the maintenance and operations of the Hutto, or of the East Williamson County Higher Education Center here in Hutto. And so that was passed by the voters. At that point, it moved into kind of an MOU phase, a negotiation between the Hutto ISD and Temple College as far as what the tax was used for and what the obligations of Temple College as far as operating the center would be. And so generally they pay for, the branch maintenance tax is intended to pay for non-instructional costs. So everything you can think of from our largest payment is our annual capital lease payment to TSTC. So basically the debt financing that was put in place to pay for the center. We've got student enrollment services, the library, janitorial, security, so the routine maintenance. TSTC does maintain a repair and replacement fund for a large kind of capital improvements to the building, but routine maintenance is handled by Temple College. And so that's generally what the design for the branch maintenance tax, how it was built. And so since commencing operations, that has not fully funded the maintenance and operation budget for the center, nor was it likely intended to when that was the tax rate that was proposed, and that was the obligations for that tax money. So there was obviously a plan to have some investment in that as the center grew out and as Hutto has grown. But so since that point, there's been a shared investment of about $1.3 million among our partners with TSTC and Central Texas. And in the last 4 years, Temple College has invested about $1.2 million in the maintenance and operations of the center, at least for the period planning going through 2021. The branch maintenance tax has been lowered. I know there were some questions about that last year. So it's been lowered, not because the maintenance tax exceeded the maintenance expenditures, but for the political expediency of staying below the rollback rate, or as it is now called, at least for colleges, and I think probably for schools too, is the voter approval tax rate. So in order to stay below that, the rate has been lowered in years past. So as we move on to the next kind of a breakdown, I'll show this two different ways, but supplementing the branch maintenance tax is the East Williamson County Higher Education fee. So an extra $8 per hour is charged to traditional students at the center. We do waive that fee for dual credit students. That's why you see a contra revenue there on that top line for the waivers. And then partner contributions, again, from our partner institutions. So you see there, revenue growth has been quite steady and large, catching up to those total maintenance and operation expenditures over the last few years. There has been an investment, but that is going down. And as soon as 2022, 2023 would anticipate that potentially would turn to a surplus, at that point, the conversation sort of moves to tax rate reduction versus adding services. You know, if TSTC wants to slap building number 2 down there, you know, we won't fight you. But that's kind of the plan and how this would grow going forward, and how the tax rate will be managed going forward. The next slide just kind of shows the same, that's expense by object, and here just kind of shows it broken down by expense type. The administration, lease and facility maintenance, for the largest piece of that, again, being the lease payment, which is just over $600,000 of it. Your next largest line items are going to be utility bills and maintenance of the facility, routine maintenance of the facility, IT, library. There's a small budget for advertising and marketing that's done exclusively for the center here in the area. Security, that's actually a contracted service, and then student enrollment services there. So we have a shared, some of our student enrollment services staff is shared between Temple College and TSTC. So the tax rate calculations as they worked out this year are no new revenue rate, which is we call the effective rate, was 44,828. The voter approval rate is the 48,447, and the board recommendation from our meeting is to propose a rate of 4.844 cents, so 0.4844, which is an increase of just under 1/4 of 1 penny. So that is the change from last year. We were at 0.046040. Again, went up slightly as the rollback calculation allowed. So the recommended action for board consideration is to set the proposed rate at the 0.48440 and call for the public hearing on August the 27th. I'll be here on August 27th. Happy to answer any questions about the budget or the tax rate.
Anybody have any questions here?
Thank you for the budget information.
Sure, absolutely. I apologize. Last year it was not near as thorough, and if I can make an excuse, I was still pretty new at the time, but
Yeah, I think you'd only been on
I
the
think
job
that was
for
like your first day or something,
Yeah.
second day.
but happy to share this, and if there are questions or more data I can bring back, I'd be happy to do that as well.
Thank you, Brandon, appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
I just think that, what a celebration, thinking back to when Temple College first came and we met at Veterans Hill Elementary School. And now, you know, here we are talking about possibly being your capacity.
It's amazing.
Were there any questions or comments online? Okay. Bill, did you?
So that was great. It worked out great. But we went through it down from 90 to build.
Yeah. Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Do y'all have, I think I'll do it to take action to set that proposed rate. Oh, in the normal wording. Okay. All righty. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
Appreciate it, Brandon.
I believe this is your moment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning this public hearing?
You can raise your hand there.
You raise your hand in the meeting.
So Philip, you make
Okay,
a
we
motion.
are adjourning the public hearing at 6:46.
Now we can-
No, we're being stated for just.
No, they don't have them on camera.
Hmm?
Sorry, I should have been mute.
Terrence, are you on Board Book Premier? Because if you are, it would be helpful. You could vote with the raise your hand on the Board Book Premier.
Okay, yeah, I am on Premiere. I just have to get my screen small enough to where I can get to it.
Okay. Okay, we are going to go straight into our special called meeting. So we will call that meeting to order at 6:47.
That's a different meeting on board.
It is.
Yes. And then, so that's what I was going to say before we adjourn to closed session. We're on using Boardbook Premier now. So for the Zoom audience, if you hear us talking about, what does that look like or what should we do, that is what we're referring to our process there. So if you guys like moving forward, we can vote with the raise your hand feature that's on here. And you all know, you went through the training on it. So we are going to adjourn into closed session pursuant to 551.072 attorney and 551.074 personnel. And is there one more?
Just those two.
Did we open this meeting?
So it's still open in Zoom. So what we have to do, the board, so Mr. Owens, you're gonna have to leave this meeting. All the board members, we leave this meeting and then we log into the closed session. Mr. Bender, I can see that you're on there. Since you're our attorney, you'll have to leave this meeting. I sent you the link on your email. It's a separate link so that we can go into closed session.
I'm gonna have to search for that link, so I may be a moment or two getting back, but I'll leave now and you come back in.
Yes, sir, that's okay. It's in your, I just sent it to your email because I saw that you were online.
Okay.
Okay.
Will you let the people watching know that this will stay on, but we're gonna shut the video off and shut the audio off, and then it'll just come back on whenever y'all are out of closed.
So to the other members of the public that are out there, we're going to pause this meeting while we go into closed session. You can stay on, you don't need to leave. We are going to leave and then we'll log back in when we come out of closed session. So thank you for joining us and just bear with us as we go into our executive session.
We are returning from closed session at 8:53. And we are going to move up item 6A and take action on that. So we have the consideration and approval of accepting our board members' notice of resignation. So I received Scott Feller's letter of resignation and want to give him a chance to share.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah, I've submitted my letter of resignation from the board, and I am loath to do that knowing that there's a couple of months left before we can have another election. Originally, when I decided that I was not going to run for re-election, I built plans in my business that I have started an air conditioning business and build plans around that this summer I would be free of my obligation on the board, and I would know that I'd be putting 80-hour weeks in my business. And when the election got moved, I made the attempt to continue to serve both functions, and finding that it's just not possible for me to give what needs to be given to this role. And I find myself unprepared for meetings and lacking in the background that I need in order to make votes that I feel like I can stand behind. I have tremendously enjoyed my experience here with you all. I think I'm leaving the district in tremendously good hands. I would vote for every single one of you. If you would, given the opportunity, I would and I will. So thank you all, and I've greatly enjoyed this.
Thanks for sharing, Scott. So tonight we have to take action on accepting his resignation. So,
Hey, Billy? Billy?
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. Scott, I just want to, me personally, just wanted to thank you for, and I've told you this many times, thank you for making me a better person as a human being. And I've enjoyed our conversations. I've enjoyed serving with you. You've been definitely a tremendous asset to this community as a business owner, servant leader and a citizen. So I just want to thank you, and I just wish you the best luck in all your new adventures.
Thank you so much, Terrence.
I'm gonna pile on that, Terrence. When I learned that Scott was resigning and we had a little conversation, I think I echoed your sentiment there. I have tremendous amounts of respect for Scott and his family and what they've done for this community, what they mean to this community. And I think that they consistently demonstrate humbly what it means to be servants, people that care, people that do things the right way. And I just want you to know, Scott, how much I admire and appreciate your friendship, your professional capacity, and how much you meant to all of us as a friend, as a community member. I think we're lucky to have you here. Thank God you're not going anywhere yet, very, very quickly, but just thank you for your service. I just have a highest amount of respect for you, and we appreciate your service. Thank you very much.
Well, I was gonna wait till we vote, or till we made a motion to second it, but since everybody started, you know, I mean, we've disagreed on a lot of stuff on the board, but I always loved your opinion because it made me think of something I didn't think of. So we always seem to come to the middle ground, and I always appreciate that. So, you know, family's right down the road from me, so I always appreciate that too. So I'm gonna miss you being on here.
One of the things I think people don't realize is that when you sign up for something like this, it is a time sacrifice and you do commit your time. And you think you know what the commitment is, and you definitely don't. I think in Scott and Connie's case, during this pandemic, you certainly overcommitted what you signed up for. And I think that that is very commendable. We sincerely appreciate you staying with us. You already know how I feel about this. I sent you my sentiments. And it's been, it's good to know that you're leading with a group of people that you can rely on and trust that they are doing what they feel like is best for the district, and I appreciate that.
I'm mad at you. Let's just be honest. Because I don't think it would be appropriate for two of us to resign and you jumped on it, so.
So sorry.
I already told you. But I also appreciate the fact that you looked at and your reasons certainly showed a huge amount of integrity, so.
And I mean, I appreciate, you know, you being able to share your heart, even if it meant, you know, getting some pushback or disagreements from anybody else. And I mean, we've said that a million times. Scott and I are on different ends, you know, of a lot of things, but I appreciate you in your heart and helping me, like Philip said, see things from a different perspective.
Part of what I love about each one of you is that on different issues, we're always on opposite ends of the spectrum, right? And every single one of you, I feel like I can say I'm here, you can say you're here, or I can say I'm here, you can say you're here. But at the end of the day, we vote for what's good for the district.
Yep. And
we move on down the road, right? That doesn't mean you don't have to convince me, I don't have to convince you. We get heard. We maybe consider something from a different perspective.
And we don't have to leave here enemies.
Right.
No. So thank you all.
Thanks. Wait. Let's take action.
Yeah, we haven't allowed him to resign yet. I think it's positive. Who wants to make that motion?
I'll make it. No, Scott can.
Yeah, how about if I make?
You can.
You can. I will second that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion to accept Scott's resignation made by Philip and second by Morgan. So all in favor? Terrence, is your hand raised?
I just did.
The motion passes. So.
You guys have made this a wonderful experience.
So Mr. Feller, on behalf of the district, we have a beautiful plaque for you. I hope you hang it up to Hippo Cafe as,
Cafe?
yeah, and
Yes.
just as a remembrance of all of the breakfasts that we had there. So just for me, from a personal standpoint, thank you for your support of my work, of the team's work. Thank you for loving our teachers and our staff in this district. You've been a wonderful board member. You and I came on at the same time, so I feel like part of me is walking out the door. But it's a small token of our appreciation for all of the time that you gave us.
I would treasure it. Thank you.
Good, because I thought he was getting that, and I was gonna say I want one of those.
Oh, the big, all right.
I hope I can still come by for that wonderful blueberry French toast.
Oh.
Oh,
Thank you.
Hey, Scott.
Good night, y'all.
good night.
Hey, we got
Okay.
Yeah.
There was no other action to be taken out of closed session, correct?
Correct.
Good, because we're. Okay, so we will move on to the public comments. And we do have public comments, is that correct?
We have a number of them.
Okay, so each comment will be read by you.
Yes.
He's got one at his time.
I'm drinking water right now.
And each comment will be limited to 5 minutes. So are you the timekeeper? Okay, we've got a timekeeper. And so at 5 minutes, we'll end the comment.
All right.
And is somebody admitting people while you're reading?
Yes.
Okay.
Somebody's waiting to get it right. All right, here we go. First one is from Erica Lamana. Dear Hutto ISD school board members, I would like to share my recent experiences as a type 1 diabetic elementary art teacher who has upwards of 550 kids passing through my class each week when school is open. I was diagnosed with diabetes at the age of 4. I watched my uncle die of diabetic-related complications in 2008, and my 13-year-old niece, who also has diabetes, suffered from a mini stroke this summer. I am as thankful as I am lucky to have never suffered any serious consequences from my disease. On July 21st, I met with my doctor to ask what I should do if school reopens. She had already sent guidelines to her patients recommending we stay quarantined and avoid contact with kids under the age of 18 since they are often asymptomatic. My doctor's opinion was that I should try to work virtually from home. She explained that if I caught COVID, I am 13 times more likely to die than the average person. I called HR to find out what my options would be if school reopens and was told our teachers do not have the option to teach virtually. I was offered the following 2 accommodations instead. Number 1, extra furniture or clutter could be removed from my room, which would allow students to sit further apart. However, I do not have any extra furniture. In fact, I have so few tables in my overcrowded room that some children have had to sit on the floor because there weren't enough tables and chairs, nor was there room to bring any more in. The second accommodation that I was offered was an air purifier. I cried during and after my call with HR that day. Moving on to our PD training, I was granted permission to do my training from home after multiple conversations and a doctor's note, which seems inconsistent with the fact that the school board has the luxury and choice to meet virtually, but I digress. During training, it was explained that my campus will have a no judgment policy on masks. We were told to wear masks as much as you are, quote, as much as you are able and comfortable, unquote. As I watched these meetings from home, I witnessed teachers forget to put their masks on, taking masks off to eat in groups, and casually talking to others as their mask hung on one ear to the side of their face. Our plans noted that masks will not be required inside classrooms. There was no mention of kids bringing their own supplies to specials, which leads me to assume every child in school will share supplies for art and subjects like PE. I am gravely concerned that I can't properly sanitize buckets of crayons, scissors, glue, pencils, tables, chairs, and door handles in a 5-minute passing period. The reality of this spreads far beyond my classroom. We will have 2 children per table in the cafeteria divided by a sheet of plexiglass with the intention of fitting 120 children in the cafeteria at a time. They will cough, they will sneeze, they will spit as they talk. Does anyone really believe those droplets stop with a sheet of plexiglass, or is the plexiglass just there to provide an illusion of safety? I realize no matter what you do, someone will be unhappy, but I sincerely hope you will follow in the footsteps of Austin ISD. They are going to bat for their employees and students by putting their safety first. If it is possible to buy more time, why wouldn't you do it? You have one chance to get this right. If you make one wrong decision, someone could die. We are not even close to being prepared to prevent that. The risks here are great, and I ask you, what would you do if you had a chronic illness and your doctor said you would be 13 times more likely to die if things didn't go as planned at your job? If you choose to open school before it is safe, you're putting people like me in a position where I will be forced to choose between risking my life or giving up the job I love. I don't want to be the next dead teacher on the news, and if schools reopen too soon, there will undoubtedly be quite a few of them all over the country this year. I truly appreciate each of you, and I'm grateful to have a board that I feel comfortable being so honest with. Thank you for your dedication, time, and efforts, Erica Lamona. Next one is from Charles McCoy. Good evening. As you all consider a plan to return to in-person learning, please consider your ability to truly evaluate your ability to do the following. Number 1, socially distance in the classroom at all times. Number 2, require and enforce space coverings in the classrooms and hallways. Number 3, clean and rise deck high touch surfaces in areas of instruction between class changes and throughout the day could be done by students prior to switching classes. If you cannot or lack the staff and supplies to do so, you do not have a safe plan. The inability to do so puts our students, your staff, their families, and our community at risk. I applaud Mr. Gist's decision to cancel band camp. He evaluated the situation and made a decision that was not in the best interest of the band, but rather the students and our community. Each fall, various communicable illnesses and parasites are often contracted by students and spread on the community after being acquired at school. Luckily, in these cases, there are treatments and vaccines available. This is not the case with COVID-19. When you add this all up, returning to person without treatment or vaccine makes no sense. Please make decisions that protect the students, staff, and community. Your decision should not be politically motivated, but based on evidence and science. I implore you to do the right thing. Stay safe, wear masks when you cannot socially distance yourselves, and model these behaviors. Thanks for your time. Charles McCoy, MSN RN, parent, registered nurse, concerned citizen, taxpayer, registered voter. Next one is from Beth Page. Dear Hutto ISD school board members, my name is Elizabeth Page. I'm a grade 3 teacher at A.E. Johnson. I first want to thank you for all the hard work that everyone is putting in to help ensure that students will be safe when returning to school. I do have concerns for the teachers though, as I have not seen the same insurances for teachers. Knowing that teachers were going to be working in the buildings, I cannot understand why PPE materials were not present for us to use. Our campus is going through construction, and in order to move around the building, we needed to use the outside doors to get from one place to another. With this being said, there were no materials to help us with hand sanitizing. I probably had to touch those doors 20 times in one day. Luckily, I brought my personal bottle of hand sanitizer to use, but that bottle went quickly. We were told that hand sanitizer and wipes would be available for us, and they weren't. We were told that we wouldn't have to purchase cleaning materials, but that is also false. I had to search 4 stores to find cleaning materials for my classroom because the custodians were not cleaning the desks, even though we were working in our classrooms and having meetings. This seems like the district doesn't really care about our safety. When we're in classrooms, we have other people come into our classes and tables and desks get germs on them. Our classrooms are not being sanitized daily or at all unless we personally ask the custodians to come clean. How will we know that we are being taken care of when we are at school? With that being said, I'm also concerned that each team was asked to come up with safety guidelines for their classes once kids are back face to face. I would think that these protocols should be universal and not up to each team. I know that my team has come up with suitable guidelines, but how do I know the other teachers will be as diligent as our team? I would have thought that this would have been something for a team of people, including teachers, parents, and admin, to come up with the classroom safety plan instead of individual teachers. I guess I would have liked things to be in place already for my safety and the safety of my colleagues. I am a bit discouraged and disappointed that these things were not taken care of before the teachers had to come back to the building. Sincerely, Elizabeth Page, grade 3, Nadine Johnson Elementary School. Second. Next one is from Natalie Reinhardt. Dear wonderful school board members, let me begin by thanking you for voicing your concerns for HISD staff and students regarding reopening in August. Your time, energy, and love for teachers in this community is much appreciated throughout the district. The American Federation of Teachers of Hutto recommends building a reopening task force that consists of staff, admin, and parents, yet we were not given that option even when requested so that we could creatively and collaboratively make decisions. Since that has not been offered, I am writing to express my concerns. First, the district has known that teachers and staff would return to campuses on August 6th. For the district's safety plan, quote, all classrooms will be equipped with plenty of hand sanitizer and bathrooms will be stocked with soap and paper towels. Teachers should not need to purchase additional supplies. Teachers and staff will have access to disinfectant wipes, sanitizing solutions to sanitize high-touch and working surfaces and shared objects regularly, close quote. During the July 23rd board meeting, it was stated that the district received 50,000 face masks, more than was expected, as well as 900 gallons of hand sanitizer. We have not seen these on campus, and even though we don't have kids yet, this is needed for the safety of our staff. As of August 12th, CCE was able to pick up a face shield from the office. There is hand sanitizer around the building. The teachers have not received PPE from the district. NJES was given a cloth mask, and each staff member received a face shield that a company donated to our campus nurse. There's not enough hand sanitizer to place at all major points of entry. Teachers have not received PPE from the district. Currently, ES has hand sanitizer at the entryway. Masks will be kept in the office. Staff was given one cloth mask and were told they would have to provide their own. Veterans ES teachers were given a mask and have not received PPE from the district. Hutto ES has had hand sanitizer in the cafeteria, but teachers have not received any PPE from the district. Hutto Middle School has had hand sanitizer at major points of entry, but teachers have not received PPE from the district, and face shields were a first come, first served basis. Farley Middle School has hand sanitizer stations at major points of entry, but they are usually empty or near empty. Teachers have not received any PPE from the district. Hutto High has hand sanitizer stations at major points of entry, but teachers still have not received any PPE from the district. If you're unwilling to provide teachers with basic safety measures outlined in the district safety plan, how are we to feel confident that when students return to school, parents will trust us teachers that their students' health will be protected? This feels like the Hunger Games. May the odds be ever in your favor. How will the district ensure students' safety and health when they haven't ensured the safety of their teachers and staff? Second, why aren't we considering pushing the start date back to after Labor Day? If starting on the 18th in person is not safe, let's be an example of a real district of innovation and push it back, as our largest surrounding district, Hutto ISD, has already chosen to do so. We understand that there are concerns from parents about working out the logistics of virtual learning. However, the concerns we have about reopening for face-to-face instruction are that it is just not safe yet, as we cannot possibly socially distance in almost every situation their kids will be in during the school day. We feel parents have been misled to believe this will be possible, creating a false sense of security. The current class sizes and close quarters will certainly not do anything to alleviate or lessen the spread in our community. The earlier we start in person, the less likely we are able as a community to flatten the curve. To clarify why a delayed start is needed, TEA guidance has left us with little room to maneuver without a loss of funding, and delaying the start date gives us more time to flatten the curve before even considering transitioning to in-person learning. Currently, according to TEA, we can have 8 weeks of virtual learning after the start date of school. Delaying the start date by 3 weeks gives us 11 weeks to monitor public health data and make an informed data-driven decision of when it is safe to resume in-person learning. Not to mention the delayed start could help mitigate the red light, green light situation in which we would constantly be opening up and shutting down if and when there is a positive case in our district, as we have already seen in school districts who open too early. Third, we already know that we will likely have to remain in a remote setting later than September 8th. Why not make that call sooner rather than later? If we were to start virtual learning on September 8th, we could possibly return face-to-face on November 4th. We would have 2 weeks of face-to-face instruction before we break for Thanksgiving. We desperately need this time to make sure our community is doing their part to flatten the curve, as well as give us some time to monitor the presumed spike after Labor Day. Isn't this small sacrifice worth it for the physical and mental well-being of those of us who will actually be sharing these buildings? If other districts are making this call for the safety of their students and staff, why isn't Hutto considering it? Is that time? Okay. I will pass these on, obviously, and you'll be able to read the rest. Next one is from Rebecca Sigler. Dear school board members, I would like to begin by thanking you for your hard work and the time spent on the reopening plans for Hutto ISD. I know this has been no easy task. The American Federation of Teachers of Hutto recommends building a reopening task force that consists of staff, admin, and parents, yet we were not given that option, even when we requested, so that we could creatively and collaboratively make decisions. Since that has not been offered, I am writing to express my concerns. Before I begin with my concerns, please know how much I wish it was safe to go back on time, full time, and face-to-face with our new class of students. Unfortunately, that will not be the case. I would like to propose pushing the start date of school back to September 8th and then go virtual from there. TEA has granted 8 weeks of virtual instruction from the start date. This will give us 11 weeks from now to monitor the status of COVID in our county. At this time, it is not safe to gather in large groups. Many teachers have the same class sizes as we do during non-COVID times, which makes social distancing impossible in the classroom and hallways. Masked or not, this is not safe by any means. Our school board has the power to move our start date, but if this change is not made, we desperately need to modify our plans to an A-B hybrid schedule to lower the amount of students in the classroom each day. Doing any of these things would help lessen the hurdles that are sure to come if we open too soon and with more students than is recommended or safe. We already know that we will likely have to remain in a remote setting later than September 8th. Why not make that call sooner rather than later and save our students and parents from playing this guessing game? Additionally, last week staff received an email stating that we must share a mini fridge and microwave with the people on our teams to lower the energy usage in the district. I feel that having the choice to keep our own small appliances in our rooms will bring at least a small amount of peace of mind, because it will be one more thing we can do to limit exposure to others, and that the appliance fee should be waived on the grounds that this is considered a personal safety necessity. Surely, with all the time teachers donate to the district, we can be afforded this one simple luxury, something many districts have done for their staff for years. We could and will use this delayed start to plan effective, fun, and engaging online lessons as our friends in AISD are currently doing. We will use this time to learn the new resources that were just given to us and to reach out to our families to ensure they have everything they need for a smooth start to the school year. You have always fought for the best interest of our district's people. Please hear and share in our concerns not to begin in-person learning until it is safe to do so that we can go back and have faith that we are safe and will not have to jump back and forth between in-person and virtual learning. Thank you for taking the time to read these concerns. Sincerely, Becky Sigler, 5th grade, Social Studies and Science, Nadine Johnson Elementary. Dear school board members, thank you for taking the time to listen to public comments. I have a couple of concerns to address this evening. As we have seen over the last couple of weeks, schools in the Southeast opening in person have been reporting positive cases. This goes to show that reopening in person too soon will only perpetuate the spread of COVID-19. I'm extremely concerned for students and staff and believe that the longer we wait to return in person, the better chance we have of flattening the curve. Since the TEA is only allowing for up to 8 weeks of virtual learning, pushing the start date back until after Labor Day, as Austin ISD has done, will allow for almost 3 months to flatten the curve. At that point, it might be considered safe to allow for some level of in-person learning. After seeing videos produced by a few campuses on their plan for reopening, it just drove home the point that there really is no safe way to reopen the buildings. From what I could see, it is almost impossible to have everyone remain 6 feet apart, even in a perfect world where children were able to follow instructions 100% of the time. I appreciate the effort that the administrators and staff put into their videos and all of the planning for enforcing safety standards, but there just isn't enough space to adhere to CDC safety guidelines. Something else that was noticeable in the videos that I watched, the elementary students were not required to wear masks in the classroom, but in the middle school they are. Why aren't all campuses following the same PPE requirements. Another concern that I have is district liability if contract tracing were to show that a staff member contracted the virus at school after being required to return in person too early. Will the district be liable for their medical bills? Just another reason to only return in person when it is safe, not just going by a time frame set for the entire state. In addition, in the agenda for this meeting, it states that due to the mandate that the public observe certain social distancing practices to address health and safety concerns related to the COVID-19 coronavirus, this meeting will be conducted by video conference. Why is it acceptable for students and staff to gather in large groups, but not the school board? Thank you again for your time. Elizabeth Willie. Next one, Kayla Unger. Dear school board members, thank you for taking the time to read this email. As we get closer to starting virtually, the concerns that I have are growing tremendously. First, I find it discouraging that a second survey was sent just this week asking for our input on reopening and how comfortable we feel with reopening. Other local districts have sent a second survey much sooner than a week before reopening. I hope that the input that is received this time will be listened to and appreciated. I also find it disheartening that a reopening task force was not formed with staff, teachers, admin, and parents. Staff had even requested to be part of the task force so that opinions and dialogue could be shared from various members of the district and community. Second, COVID numbers are still increasing every day, and yet our plan to reopen has not changed. It has been stated in the district safety plan that schools and teachers would be receiving hand sanitizer, disinfectant wipes, and other safety measures to help decrease the spread of COVID. However, schools have not received those supplies. How are we teachers expected to put trust in district leadership in regards to our health when the mentioned safety items have not been delivered and we cannot purchase them ourselves? There has also been talks about plexiglass. Will the district be providing schools and classrooms plexiglass? Third, why was it up to the teachers to come up with a safety plan to send out to parents? In my opinion, when you have grade levels or individual teachers sending out their own safety plans, it can make the situation worse by trying to understand different expectations, leaving families feeling confused and not knowing or trusting the professionals that teach their students. There have been local districts that already sent out their safety plan to all parents. By having district leadership create such plans, it allows families to not only know the expectations, but follow them as well. I look forward to being back in the classroom, teaching face-to-face with proper safety measures put in place. Sincerely, Kayla Unger. One more. Hi, board members. First off, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to read this and all emails you have been receiving. I'm sure it's very time consuming. I wanted to reach out to voice my concerns of the schools reopening in this pandemic. After watching the news this morning and hearing that the CDC is still saying opening schools is not safe unless you can guarantee the staff, students, and parents are doing everything they can and need. And to be honest, that's a lot of trust in people that we do not even know. You cannot guarantee to keep my and other kids safe. Also, hearing all these schools that have open and closed due to so many kids and staff testing positive. I feel that will affect the kids and families more than just staying closed for 4 more weeks. Open, close is not a routine that kids will be able to follow. As of right now, we can start virtual and continue virtual until it is safer for kids to come to school and stay in person. We all want our kids to be in person in a perfect world, but that option should not be right now, and it shouldn't be in a few weeks, September 8th. I would rather play it safe than sorry. Williamson County hasn't even said it's safe for gatherings of over 10 people with social distancing yet. Our kids will be in the classrooms with more than 10 people. There will be no social distancing at all. My daughter's class has 17 kids, not included teachers. My son in middle school could be around 160 plus kids and staff a day. That is not safe at all. Dangerous is the word I would use. I seriously could go on and on about the issues why we should not reopen on September 8th. Wait 4 more weeks and watch the numbers go down so our kids, staff, and parents can have a little peace of mind, and kids and staff can actually learn, teach, and not do it in fear. Thank you, Jenny Iverson. That is all.
Thank you. So now we'll go on to, back down to item 6B. And I just want to remind all of us, because I know that Linda sent out the TASB, our annual training is virtual. And just a reminder that we still need our training hours for this calendar year. And I have the printout if you need to know where you stand. But also if you chose to do the TASB annual training, those videos and stuff are available for 30 days after. So it's not like you have to like block out, you know, and get that all done right then. So just keep that in mind. It's available. You can also go on TASB's website and do their trainings.
What are we, 5 hours, all of this required?
5.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And we got 3 with training, with team building. So really, most we could need is 2.
When does it roll over?
It's calendar year, so December.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you need to know or just know that. And then, because we're sitting here, we have the board coins. So just, we had talked about this. You know, the reason why we give these is when we see a staff member going above and beyond, inspiring excellence, just outside of, you know, the normal routine. So those are available to all of us to hand out, and just keeping in mind that if you give one, the intention is to give it with a specific reason why they're getting it, not just, you know, I love that color jacket today.
Specific praise.
Yeah. And so just be specific in it. And we're gonna have a Google spreadsheet so that we can kind of know that who has gotten one, who's getting them. And that way we're not all, 6 now, giving it all to the same people. And then I also thought, you know, we can decide this, but I thought it would be nice as well to, if we do give one, that we can share it during this board president reporting time in the future. If you gave one, you can share who you gave it to and why you gave it to them. So if anybody needs any, these are here for the taking. All right.
And we've ordered some more.
Thank you.
I mean, couple hundred, right? 200. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to move down to the consent agenda. If you guys want to take a look at that, just a couple of things on there. Taryn, if you let me know if you're good with the consent agenda. Terrence, are you on?
I'm good.
What was our middle school math program? What is this replacing?
It's not replacing anything. We were using it last year. This should have gone through a few months ago when we did all the other IMA approvals, but it's my fault. I missed putting it with all the other adoptions.
So it's not a new.
No, it's the same one we used last year.
What was it before that?
Do we have to pull it though to have
It
this one?
was a McGraw-Hill textbook, I believe.
Okay, do we have a motion for the consent agenda?
I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
And are you making it?
I am.
Okay, and we have a motion by Morgan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Edgar. So all in favor? Terrence, you're gonna have to say what your vote is, because I can't see you.
Or turn the camera.
I don't see the option on here.
You don't see the little hand? Oh, that's just a question.
Okay, we're gonna vote.
Aye. I'm having computer problems.
Okay, so all in favor, are you in favor or you're not voting?
He said aye.
Oh,
I said aye.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. So 1, 2, 3, 6 yays and 0 nays. Sorry. So that's the consent agenda motion passes.
There's somebody trying to get in.
Okay, we are going to table item 8A. Okay, and move down to 8B.
Do
We're gonna table it further date.
Oh, we do?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so
Motion should
Is
be
there-
in there. I gave you 2 options.
Okay, I only see one off. Okay,
Yeah.
I see it now. All right, I make a motion to table item 8A. Is there a second?
Second. Can I ask a question?
yes,
Since we said it, right?
yes.
Are we required to table up to a future date, a specific future date, or just table in general?
Just take them.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion by Morgan and a second by Philip. So all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and none opposed, so motion passes. She did. 6-0.
Okay, thank you.
So even though we tabled the motion, would you still like to go through the update? No?
I mean, that's not on here.
Okay.
I think we.
Okay.
Okay, so 8B, consideration and approval to set the date and time of the public meeting on budget and tax rate for East Williamson County Higher Education Center maintenance tax. Is there a presentation or anything about that?
No, it's just follow up on Mr. Bozon's presentation, and the recommendation is to hold a public meeting on August 27th at 6 p.m. and then consider the proposed tax rate of 0.448.
447.
Yeah.
Did they used to have 3 meetings?
0.4844.
Did they used to
I
have
thought they
2
did.
public meetings and then?
And then the vote, that I thought that too.
Okay, they did change that. Tonight's information from Mr. Bozon was really just a consideration for the board to get a little prepared before we used to have 2 public meetings. They changed that to just 1.
Okay.
Now, the one that we have on the 27th is required by law because it has to be published in the newspaper tomorrow.
Okay.
So this one wasn't published in the newspaper because it's not required, wasn't required. So we've got to publish one and then have a public meeting after the publication.
And that was House Bill 2, right? He said that changed that, the lower
Right.
number.
And we can vote on it right after the public meeting.
And we will have a public meeting sooner to what you would probably just highlight what we talked about tonight, and then we'll adjourn and go into the regular scheduled board meeting, and you will vote on tax
Vote
rate.
at that point.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to set the dates for the public meeting and date to adopt the budget and tax rate for East Williamson County Higher Education Center as follows. Public meeting, August 27th, 2020. Meeting to adopt budget and tax rate, August 27th, 2020.
Motion made by Morgan. Is there a second? and second by Philip. All in favor? And none opposed, so motion passes 6-0. And
No future calendar items. Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
okay, motion to adjourn made by Philip and second by Morgan. All in favor? And none opposed, so motion passes 6-0, and we're adjourned at 9:06.
Wave to Kendra.
She was waving.
Hey, Kendra. See you, Terrence.
Y'all have a good night and have a good weekend.